Hello, my name's Aviva, and today I'm going to be tier ranking some romance tropes. So I've seen a couple of people do this in the past, and I really enjoyed watching their videos. Like Madison from Princess and Paperbacks just did this, and I know that Steph Bower has done this at some point, and I basically wanted to do it for myself. So I asked all my Instagram followers to give me their favorite and least favorite tropes, and I'm going to be ranking them for you. So I have my computer in front of me, and I have 5 different tiers. So auto buy, love, hit or miss, and avoid. And I feel like they are pretty self-explanatory. I also chose 35 different tropes that we will be ranking today. So with that said, let's get started. First up, we have small town. And lately I've been in a really big small town kick. So that's definitely going to go into auto buy. Like something about it, it's so easy to read. And sometimes they are a little bit cliche, but I've just been feeling the vibe lately. So definitely very into that type of trope at the current moment. Then we have rock star / famous hero. And I feel like this one is a hit or miss for me. I don't necessarily avoid this type of trope, but it's not something that I seek out, because I have read a couple that I've really enjoyed in the past, but it's not something that I'm actively looking for, if that makes sense. But anyway, bully romances are hit or miss. And the thing is that when I find a bully romance and I like it, I absolutely love it. But sometimes the bully gets to be a little bit too much for me, and then I can't handle it. So I feel like it's perfect for a hit or miss. Then we have BFF's brother / brother's best friend. So, I don't know. I feel like I love this, but I was thinking about putting it in the hit or miss, because I didn't necessarily ever have one where it's oh, I didn't really like it because of the trope, but I'm not necessarily seeking it out. So I feel yeah, I usually do love the idea of it, but it depends on the book, I guess, but whatever. Anyway, fake dating, I definitely love. It's not necessarily an auto buy, because sometimes I feel it's a little bit my eyes roll as to how they got themselves in this situation, but it always makes for a good time. So I feel I love it. Billionaire hero, I feel I love as well. It's not something, again, that I'm specifically seeking out, but I always love the vibe of it. Usually because a billionaire, he comes with a lot of arrogance, and it sets up the story for a very interesting way. And I usually very much dig it. Boss ex-employee, I feel I love that trope. I'm not necessarily seeking it out. I feel that's exactly what love is. I'm not seeking it out, but again, I usually have a great time with it, because boss ex-employee usually comes with a lot of forbiddenness, and there's a power play going on, and there's a lot of tension, because you're usually in the workplace environment. I feel there's a lot of good stuff in a boss and employee sort of relationship. So definitely love that trope. Reverse harem, I feel okay, I'm putting it at avoid, because I actually do actively avoid them. But the thing is I don't think I've actually really read one yet. I've read the Ravenhood series, and I had thought that was reverse harem, and then a lot of people told me no, that's not reverse harem. Reverse harem, you got to add in, I think one more guy to the mix, and therefore I don't think I've ever read a reverse harem. But it's not something that I particularly want to get into, only because I'm a very jealous person. And even though when you are reading reverse harem, there's always a very clear cut thing of everybody is okay with everything that's going on. But I personally amn't so okay with it. So I guess I do actively avoid them, but I feel one day I might decide to give the niche a shot. But at the moment, I'm not into it. Forced proximity is definitely an auto buy. It's one of my favorite tropes to read, mostly because when you're reading a forced proximity, you basically have the characters always interacting, because the setting of the book is pushing them together. You always get them together. I don't like when you're reading a book and all of a sudden there's chapters where the characters aren't actually interacting, and forced proximity causes the characters to interact. So I very much do love the setup of any type of forced proximity. Then we have Grumpy Sunshine, which is obviously an auto buy for me. It's one of my favorite tropes of all time. The thing is I'm a grump in real life, and my husband is a sunshine in real life. So I very much relate to the dynamics of a Grumpy Sunshine relationship. And I basically die for it every time. I don't know if there are any books that I've read that had a Grumpy Sunshine that I ended up absolutely hating. And if I hated the book, it wasn't because it was a Grumpy Sunshine, if that makes sense. So whatever. Anyway, student teacher, Okay, I'm gonna put this at a hit or miss, but I don't know if I've actually ever read one that has missed yet. But I don't think it's something that like I necessarily love. Oh, you know what? No, there is one that has missed, and that was Lessons in Corruption by Gianna Darling. So it was the thing that like the girl was older, like she was the teacher, and like she had a relationship with her student who was younger than her, and it very much missed, like for a lot of reasons other than just the fact that it was like a teacher student. But I feel like, you know, the idea in like, you know, the general sense would be a hit or miss for me. But the few that I have read that had a teacher-student relationship happen to have been hit. So, you know, hit or miss. Anyway, sports romance, I'm gonna say is an auto buy. I do like the idea of sports romances in general, kind of because it has like, you know, that billionaire hero sort of vibe. Like I like the idea of like athletes and like, you know, somebody coming into their life and then all of a sudden like they realize that like, you know, the sport that they're playing isn't the only thing that matters, or like just the idea of like, you know, somebody having like that type of like, you know, hobby or whatever it is that they're doing. Like I like the vibe of a sports romance. Like, do I have to explain it? No, it's an auto buy for me. I'm a huge fan. Accidental pregnancy, I very do much avoid, only because, well, you know what? There's a lot of reasons, and people have asked me this before, and I feel like one of my big reasons for avoiding accidental pregnancies is because the ones that I have read, it usually happens that like they break up for a minute, and then she finds out that she's pregnant, and then they get back together because of it. And I just don't like that setup. Like I don't like the idea of like, the reason that they're coming back together and fixing their problems is because they now have a baby on the way. Like I have read a couple of accidental pregnancies where it kind of just like happens, like it fit into the story and like they weren't necessarily fighting at the time that they found it out. Like it just happened, and I was actually okay with that. Like Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating, like that happened there, and I still absolutely love that book, even though there's an accidental pregnancy in it. But like in general, like there are a lot of, you know, factors that play into like an accidental pregnancy trope, and I just don't like the vibe of it. So I do actively avoid it in general. Bad boy, good girl. I feel like I love it. I was gonna put it on like a hit or miss, but I feel like, you know, I generally do like it a little bit more just because like it comes with a vibe, you know what I mean? Like the bad boy, like kind of corrupting the good girl, or even backwards, like, you know, a bad girl corrupting like a good boy. Like first, like I like the dynamics of it. So I feel like I love it, even though I don't feel like I've read like too many of those type of trope books, but like, you know, still love. Anyway, friends to lovers it's kind of odd to me, mostly because I always feel like it's not just like a generally like, oh my God, we woke up one day and all of a sudden, like I now have feelings for my best friend. Like I feel like it's always like somebody liked one of them, like, you know, for a long time. And it was always like an unrequited love churning into like the other person realize like who's in front of them sort of thing. I just feel like, you know, the dynamics of it, I'm not usually like a huge fan of. I also very much don't like the idea of like a relationship being based off of something that happened in the past. And then we don't really get to see so much of the actual past. Like you kind of come into the story and all of a sudden like we're just told that they're best friends and that like, they have all this history, and then all of a sudden they're gonna fall for each other. Like I like seeing the history being made on page, and therefore like when it is friends to lovers, I do often come across it when like it's like we just have to like believe that they're best friends, like they have this amazing relationship before we actually started the book, you know? So like whatever, there are a lot of factors, and I usually find it to be like very to me, but at the same time like I don't actively avoid them, because like I have found some really good ones that I very much enjoyed, but like it's not something that like I seek out. And when I do see that it's like a friends to lovers, I have to like really think about it before I decide to like pick it up or not, you know? Anyway, love triangles, I feel like I avoid. I mean, maybe do I put it on No. I'm putting it on avoid, mostly because of the whole like, you know, reverse harem vibe, like getting jealous. Like I feel like I always get jealous with love triangles, and I'm always like picking one or the other, which is kind of what you're supposed to do. But like at the same time, I don't necessarily love the dynamics of it and all the problems that like come with it and stuff along those lines. Like I have read like a couple that like I kind of like, but like at the same time, like not so much really. Like mostly in like fantasy books, like The Kiss of Deception and then like the Clockwork series by Cassandra Clare, like both of those had love triangles, and I actually like didn't hate the book, but I feel like if I read them now, I wouldn't enjoy it as much as I did when I read them like a year or two ago. So I feel like I kind of do like actively avoid love triangles. So whatever. Single parent, definitely auto buy. I have been in a very like single parent, small town romance mood, and I've been absolutely loving the vibe of it. So very much I will buy any book when it says like that basically is a single parent. Bodyguard romance, I feel like is I feel like, I mean, I should put it to like love, but at the same time, like, I feel like I don't necessarily like love them. I feel like it's like more of a hit or miss. But at the same time, like, Bodyguard kind of comes with like the idea of forced proximity, which makes me kind of love it. But at the same time, like, to be honest, I haven't really read a lot of Bodyguard romances. Like, I've read like Fall Into Me by Mila Gray, which is like the 5th book in the Come Back to Me series. And I really did enjoy that book. And then, I mean, I'm about to read like the Like Us series by like, you know, Kristen Becker Ritchie, which are all like Bodyguard romances. So I feel like I will end up absolutely loving the trope. So I'm going to put it at love. But at the same time, like, to be very honest, like, I haven't really read that many to say for sure, but like whatever. Anyway, age gaps, I feel like I very much love. I would put it at a hit or miss. I really would. Maybe should I? You know what? No. I'm gonna put it at love. I'm gonna put it at love because I do love them. But there are a few that end up missing for me. Like, if it is a weird age gap, like, well, not weird because like they're all kind of taboo, but like if for some reason like it makes me feel weird about it, like they're just acting weird about it, then it will be a miss for me. You know what? No, I'm gonna put it on a hit or miss because it really depends on the circumstances. Like, first of all, like if the girl's older, I'm just not into it. Like, say whatever you want. Like, a lot of people like it. I personally don't like when the girl's older. And then also, like, if it's like, you know, pedophile-ish, like when they're under 18, like, and then the guy is like 37, like, again, I'm not so into that. So I feel like it depends on the circumstances, but in general, it's more of a hit than it is a miss for me. So yeah, whatever. Anyway, forbidden romance, I very much love, mostly because it comes with like a lot of tension, a lot of angst, a lot of like, we shouldn't, but we want to, you know? And I feel like I would put it on auto buy, except one thing that I do have an issue with forbidden romances is usually like the ending, when all of a sudden like they're about to get together. The thing that like, you know, makes all the drama is that like it's forbidden and it's like we shouldn't, and one of them has to get over the fact that it's forbidden. And usually, I mean, not usually, but sometimes it drags on a little bit too much for me and it ends up very much bothering me. So I feel like I can't put it on auto buy because like sometimes it's not auto buy for me, but like in a general sense, I do very much love the idea of like a forbidden romance. So whatever. Anyway, enemies/haters to lovers is going to be a hit or miss for me. And I feel like, you know, everyone's going to be like, oh my God, how is that not an auto buy? And the thing is that I find that enemies/haters to lovers generally are not fully enemies to lovers. Like, it's usually like one of them is just acting that way, or it's really like they really like each other and they just like, you know, they don't realize that they like each other because they just have all of this like banter stuff going on. Like, I feel like it's generally not a true enemies to lovers. And then it's like, it's kind of like a miss because I'm like, okay, I see right through this. Like, okay, yeah, you're fighting because like you're really attracted to each other. Like, I feel like the more enemies to lovers that I've read, the less and less I've enjoyed the trope. And when I just got into like romances and stuff like that, it was my favorite trope of all time. But like over time, it's become very much a hit or miss for me. So yeah, whatever. Anyway, I hate everyone but you. Do I put this on auto buy? I feel like yes, mostly because I feel like I'm an I hate everyone but you type of person. Like, I feel like I hate the whole world besides for like my husband and my dog and like a few random friends. So I feel like I very much relate to that idea of like this guy or like the girl, whoever it is that's like, you know, hating everyone but the other person is like very much not into like, you know, being social with anybody in the world besides for like this one person. Like, I do end up absolutely loving the vibe of it. So I'm putting it on auto buy. Anyway, second chance romances, I do actively avoid. Again, for the reasons that I very much like don't love friends to lovers, mostly because, well, not even that. I mean, first of all, yes, all the reasons why I don't love friends to lovers is like for the same reason as second chance. Like, their entire like, you know, initial buildup to their relationship is like based off of something that happened in the past. And I very often find that like, you know, all of the good parts of their relationship is from the past. And then something happened and like now they're just like giving each other a second chance. And I usually just find that like their past is always better than like their current situation. And I mean, I have found like a couple, like maybe like one or two second chance romances that like I didn't absolutely hate, but I always usually end up like not vibing with it. Like, and even besides for that, like I'm not very much into giving people a second chance. Like, it's not my style. Like, it obviously depends on like what happened that made them break up. But in the general sense, like I don't necessarily like believe in second chances, like in a personal way. So like at the same time, like why would I want to read a book where like these people are giving somebody a second chance? Like it's not my personal taste. So I'm not a fan of it, and I very much do actively avoid it. Insta love and insta attraction, very much actively avoid, mostly because my favorite thing about reading a romance is seeing the buildup, seeing all the tension, seeing everything develop. And when you get insta love and insta attraction, none of that is there, and therefore, like, I just never end up connecting to the romance. So, like, whatever. Marriage of convenience / arranged marriage, I feel like I very much love. Like, I've read a couple of them, and I feel like every time they've really like hit for me. So I'm not really gonna put them on like a hit or miss, but it's not something that like I'll automatically buy just because I see it's a marriage of convenience. Like, I need to see the circumstances, you know? But I feel like all around the board, like marriage of convenience, arranged marriage, it's a good time, you know? Pen pals. I feel like, why did I even put this one on? Because I've only read like a couple of books that have been pen pals, but I feel like I'm gonna say that I love it. You know what? I do love it because I've read like, you know, Dear Aaron and Dirty Letters and Punk 57 and I don't know. I feel like there's more than just those three, but I've read a couple, and I feel like I do like the idea of pen pals. Like, I very much love letters and books, and I also really like the idea of like people getting to know each other through letters, like not necessarily like in person. Like, it brings back a lot of like vibes for me of like, you know, when you were younger and you were like texting somebody and like you got to know them that way, and it's like you have all these deep conversations over the phone or like through a letter or something along those lines, and like I like the vibe of that, you know? So I feel like I absolutely love it, but like I don't know if I would necessarily like auto buy it just because I know that it's like a pen pal situation. I mean, I feel like kind of, you know what? Okay, you know what? Maybe do I put it on auto buy? I feel like, you know what? I'm gonna put it on auto buy, but to be very clear, like I have not read that many of them, but like I feel like I want to read more. So whatever, we're gonna put it there, kind of like on a whim, but like it's okay. Friends with benefits, I'm gonna say is okay, the thing with friends with benefits is that I always see through it. Like, you're gonna get yourself into this situation and it never works out. Everybody always thinks it's gonna work out. That's the whole thing of the book of like, oh yeah, we can make this work. Like, we're not gonna fall for each other. And then obviously they're gonna fall for each other. And I mean, it's usually like a fine time, but at the same time, like I see through it, you know? It's like, I know exactly where this is gonna go. So it's like, it's a fine time, but also like, I know where it's going. So it's like, how fine can it be? Because it's like, I kind of know the whole story, like the second I'm getting into it, you know? So like, whatever. Anyway, Mafia, I feel like it's gonna be a hit or miss for me because, you know, it's just gonna be. I feel like I like it, but like at the same time, like I got into like Mafia like for a second, and then like, I don't know, I just like, I don't love it so much anymore. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, it's a hit or miss for me. I have no reason for that. Motorcycle Club, I'm gonna say is only because I've read a few and I just haven't been impressed. One thing with Motorcycle Club, like romances, is that like it comes with like this language and it throws me off every time, like old lady and like bitch and like the words that they usually say, it always throws me off, and I'm like not a huge fan. And like the vibe of a Motorcycle Club, like I like it in theory, but honestly, like everyone that I've read just have ended up being like to me. So like I'm putting it in you know? Cheating, I actively avoid. I feel like that doesn't really need an explanation. I'm not a fan of it. So therefore, if I find out that a book has cheating in it, I will never read it ever. I was a player until I met you. I'm gonna put it at hit or miss because it's kind of hit or miss for me. Like, I kind of like the idea that it's like he was a player and then he met this girl and then all of a sudden like no one else is gonna do it for him. But at the same time, it's like sometimes like he's too much of a player for me, you know? And it's like sometimes I just don't vibe with him because of his like player vibes, you know what I mean? So hit or miss. It's always been you. It's always been you. It's always been you. Hit or miss. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I do like the idea of it. Like, it's always a very like heartwarming thing, but I don't necessarily like love it because I feel like it depends on the circumstances. So like, whatever, hit or miss. I'm feeling like the hit or miss. I don't really have a good explanation for that. But anyway, guy falls first. I absolutely love. I think it's so cute when the guy falls first. Like all of a sudden, like, you know, the girl's doing whatever, and it's like all of a sudden this guy is realizing like, oh, maybe I didn't want a relationship before. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, he just realizes that this girl is like everything that he wants, and then he falls for her, and then he has to like convince her that like, you know, like that he wants to be with her sort of thing. Like whatever the situation is with the guy fall first, I'm a big fan of it. So yeah. Damaged Hero, I feel like I want to put on auto buy only because like I absolutely love it. I love the vibe of a damaged hero. Like there's just something about it that is always so like, I don't know. I very much love it. And then the last one that I have is workplace environment. And I feel like I love it. So I was thinking like, maybe do I put it on hit or miss, but like I'm not going to, because there aren't that many that necessarily like miss because it's a workplace environment, but it's definitely not an auto buy because like, I don't know, I feel like it just depends. Like workplace environments, they're kind of a little bit like classic. Like, you know, you kind of know what you're getting into, but like something is obviously going to be like unique about it. But at the same time, it's like workplace is workplace. You know what I mean? So anyway, that is all. That is all of the tropes that I wanted to tier rank for you. So, you know, that's all. Nothing more to say. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I enjoy doing this. I love making tier ranking videos. So if you actually have any other ideas of stuff you want me to tier rank, feel free to leave me a comment down below, because I'd love to get some good ideas of like what type of, you know, stuff I should rank, because I love making these sort of videos. So anyway, with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, enjoy reading.